if you want to go to the next level in your life, whether that's 10xing your income or building a business, creating a dream life, if you want to go to your next level, it actually requires that you slow things down, not speed things up. Speeding things up keeps you on the hamster wheel. Speeding things up keeps you doing things how you're currently doing them. And who you are right now is actually blocking you from who your future self could be. What got you here won't get you there. And so rather than doing more and more and more, or just staying busy, it's essential that you actually step back. I'm actually writing a book right now called 10x is easier than 2x with Dan Sullivan. We've actually together written 2 books, Who, Not How, and The Gap and the Gain. Dan is the co-founder of Strategic Coach, one of the top coaching programs in the world for entrepreneurs, maybe the top coaching program. He's been coaching people for 45 years. And one of the big things that I've found interviewing people who have gone 10x multiple times, as an example, there's a guy named Garnett Morris. 25 years ago, he was worth $70,000. Now he's worth 700 million. So that's 5 10x's. But one of the big things that I've learned, and it's not just about money, in order to go to your next level, you have to actually give yourself the space to rethink things, to actually learn, to be honest with yourself. Let me give 2 examples, one from an entrepreneurial standpoint and one from a more spiritual standpoint. So I know 2 financial advisors here in Orlando where I live, and for 3 years, 2015, I think it was 2016, 17, and 18, they were totally plateaued at a certain level. And they just had a certain model and they couldn't outgrow it, and their income stayed stuck. And so what they did was they stepped away for 4 months, literally took the time to rethink, reassess, to learn, to re-strategize. It takes a lot of learning and self-introspection and honesty and learning new and better models of whatever it is you're doing. It could be in your relationship. It could be with how you're handling money. It could be with your health. Sometimes you need to step back in order to take a massive leap forward. And so basically what these guys did was they stepped away for 4 months, really thought things through, really learned some better ways of doing things, and then altered their strategy and approach. And literally in less than a year, they 10x'd their revenue in their business. They went from a 6-figure business to a 7-figure business at more than 10 times in less than 12 months. Let me give you a different example. This is a more spiritual example, biblical example of Jesus Christ, who before his ministry stepped away for 40 days and did like a 40-day fasting period where he was by himself essentially meditating. I don't know all the details of that story, but basically in my mind, stepping away was his ability to connect to his higher purpose, to really get committed in his mind, and then to move forward in a more enlightened manner than he did before that 40-day stepping away that fast. So one of the big things that I've learned as far as a key aspect of going 10x is giving yourself more time. This freedom of time, whether that's 40 days fasting, whether that's 4 months stepping away. One of the things that even Tim Ferriss talks about in the 4-Hour Work Week is mini retirements, giving yourself time to step away and to think, to learn new things, to have peak experiences, to have fun. Creativity often happens and creative breakthroughs and ideas happen when you're actually outside your routine environment. This is actually one of the reasons why I love being on an airplane. I don't usually watch the movies, although sometimes that might be the best thing you can do for freeing your mind up. But I just love journaling and self-assessment. And so in order to go 10x or to make your next jump, you've probably got to rethink your model. You've got to rethink what you're going for, because what got you here won't get you there. You could just stay on the current track you're on and just speed things up, but that's really how you go 2x. 2x is about doing more and more of what you're currently doing, and it's exhausting. Whereas 10x means you've got to step away, slow things down, and really rethink things. Because going to 10x is going to fundamentally alter you as a human being. Trying for 2x doesn't alter you. It's just you doing more of what you're already doing. Whereas going 10x means you're going to be fundamentally different at that 10x level than who you are now. You're going to be doing things different. You're going to have a different role. You're going to actually probably be doing way less, but higher quality things. And so you've got to step away and then think, what do I actually want to go big on? What really matters? One of my favorite quotes comes from Robert Brault. He said, "We're kept from our goals, not by obstacles, but by a clear path to lesser goals." So we're kept from what we really want, not by the obstacles between us, but by clear path to lesser goals. It's a lot easier to stay on our current track or treadmill and just get quick wins, or even to pursue lesser goals that give us quick and urgent wins, rather than to step away, to be really honest with yourself, to really learn, take some time to read a lot of books. Leaders are readers. And so take time to learn more, to have more play, to have more peak experiences, but also a lot more self-assessment about what you really want, about what is worth committing to, about what would make the biggest difference long-term. You've got to sometimes step away and even to some degree go backwards in order to go way far forwards. It's like a bow and arrow. You've got to actually pull the arrow back to get the tension to launch it to go forward. So sometimes you do need to go back a little bit, to step aside rather than to just stay on the track. And then ultimately you've got to do less. And this is something I've recently learned. I was caught in the thick of thin things, as most people are. And I started to pursue too many goals. And you know that when you're pursuing too many things, it's because you have a scarcity mindset and you're acting in the short term, trying to get quick wins and fear-based. And these things are going to limit your long-term future self. They're limiting your long-term potential. And so instead of going for the quick wins and instead of pursuing so many things at mediocre levels, if you stepped back and really thought at a 10x bigger future, what it would require of you, the first thing you'd notice once you start getting really honest with yourself is that you're going to have to do less, but better. That's the whole concept of essentialism that Greg McKeown put forth. And I love the questions he invites you to ask. He says you need more time to think and discern so that you can decide what you want to go big on. And I would argue you should go big on no more than 3 things at a time. As Jim Collins said, if you have more than 3 priorities, you have none. So what are the 1, 2, or 3 things you want to go really big on? And what are the lesser goals, those quick wins that you're pursuing probably out of fear or out of situational need rather than based on your bigger term future self? People who really go big, people who make massive jumps in their life, they act based on their desired future circumstances, not based on their current circumstances. And I'm speaking in a lot of ways to my own self right now, because in my current situation, I've got a lot of stressors that could easily lead me to chasing quick wins, even quick financial wins. One of the things my financial advisor actually has pushed me towards is holding less and less cash. And so I actually invested way more money into various assets than I'm used to, and I have way less cash. And that's because of current situational factors that may actually lead me to chasing quick wins out of fear because I'm nervous financially, even though I shouldn't be. And so sometimes and oftentimes people let current situations dictate their decisions rather than future circumstances, which they want to dictate their decisions. It takes a lot more courage and commitment to make your decisions based on the circumstances you want, based on the pressures of your current situation. So I invite you, as you're looking at your life, if you're wanting to really make a jump forward, it's going to take more introspection, slowing things down in order to go further, rather than speeding things up to avoid the honesty and the self-analysis and the truth. If you slow things down, give yourself more time for learning, for having peak experiences, for connection with others, for play, but also for journaling and deep analysis, and for honest conversations with people who have your best interest at heart, then you will quickly be able to see that there are certain things you may be pursuing for the wrong reasons, which if you let go of those lesser goals, you could commit more fully to what you genuinely believe you want. By taking that genuine long-term view, the longer-term view you hold towards your future self, the better decisions you'll make here and now towards your health. You know, if you're just making decisions based on what will benefit you today, or even for the next year, you may be really setting your future self back. But if you're thinking, what's going to set me up big for the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years? That doesn't mean you're deferring happiness. It just means you're making more intentional decisions. That's actually what Aristotle called intelligence, is basing your life off of your most noble desired aims, which he called final causes. If you want to go bigger in life, if you want to go 10x, if you want to make a big jump in any way, it's not about speeding things up. It's actually about slowing things down and actually genuinely clarifying and committing to what matters most. What are you willing to go big on, and what do you genuinely believe in? And then courageously uncommitting to some of the lesser goals that you may have been pursuing because of situational factors, fear, or other reasons. So I hope that helps. I really encourage you to give yourself more time rather than either being busy or being plugged in, to give yourself more time for thinking, for learning, for journaling, for connecting, for going out and having peak experiences, slowing things down so that you can actually think more clearly. It's crazy what 1 or 2 days off, really off, to do deep work. This is what Cal Newport called deep work. Rather than shallow thinking, you do deep thinking, sometimes slow thinking. That might be difficult because you may have addictions to technology, to being plugged in, to being on your phone. But if you could put your phone on airplane mode, if you could take the weekend off, and if you could genuinely unplug and actually just be home or be somewhere and actually learn and think and journal, you will be stunned by how quick the clarity comes. And then the challenge for you is, are you going to be honest with that clarity, or are you going to push it down and ignore it? The more you ignore your deep, honest core self, the smaller your future self will get, but the more internal conflict you'll have, the more stress and pressure you'll have. The key is actually to reduce stress and pressure. The key is to find ways to make it easier for yourself to go bigger. And so one of the things I've recently done is I've eliminated one of my goals that was going to take up a huge amount of my 2022 and 23 focus. And I've clarified a much bigger, better path, which is also simpler and easier on myself, my family, and on my long-term career. And so not only is my life easier, it's simpler, less stressful, and it's a much bigger trajectory. And so I invite you to reduce the stress, eliminate some of your goals, and see what's the one or two things you could go massive on. 10x is easier than 2x. 2x is about going faster and harder at what you're currently doing. 10x is a full-on transformation, which requires rethinking what you're doing and rethinking your model. Garnett Morris, who I referenced earlier, he was stuck at $70,000 and he just realized his model didn't work. And so he had to literally get out of his business and make a new one. And less than a year later, he 10x'd his income with, he went from 70,000 over $1 million in less than a year because he was willing to step back, be honest, and rethink the model and actually readjust. That's called thinking again, as Adam Grant would call it. That's called learning. Rather than staying dogmatically committed to what you're doing out of sunk cost bias, step back and change. Change who you are being, change what you're doing, and clarify. I love the idea how you're doing anything is how you're doing everything. You can change how you're doing anything, though. You can change how you react to the world. You can get better at stepping away and clarifying and maybe making short-term hard decisions, which make it easier for the rest of your life. So I hope that helps. I invite you to make a 10x jump. Down below, you can actually download the free Kindle of The Gap and the Gain. Please like this video and subscribe, and have an amazing day. See ya.